starting this live just a little bit early because I know that there's a delay using Restream.
No problem.
I did want to ask, what hair gel are you using? Looks very strong. Mine is kind of weak, so maybe.
I've used the same one since probably 1995. It's Got to Be hair
Gotcha.
glue.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yep, yep. I still use the same stuff.
Oh yeah, it's very strong there. Awesome. All right, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today and joining the Troy Show. And today we have an excellent guest speaker, Jordan Mendoza. Mendoza, excuse me. I have to drink some water there. A great guy. He's actually taught me a couple of things that I don't even know. And I'm really excited about talking about the power of your digital footprint in 2023. Thank you for joining us, Jordan. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Looking forward to hanging with you and hopefully adding a little bit of value to the audience.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm just curious, could you tell the audience, because they're not as familiar as I am with some of the work that you do. So just to kind of let the audience know the particulars on where you shine and in where you can provide value.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So I've been, in and around sales and marketing for 27 years. Really been doing it since I was 14, long before social media or even the thought of building a digital footprint. Everything was, you know, foot to the pavement. Going door to door, business to business, telemarketing, and to get good at any type of sales related anything. You have to be able to communicate with people effectively. You've got to understand body language. You've got to understand why eye contact is important. You have to be able to think on your feet, be able to learn how to relate to people. And that's really understanding those dynamics will help you in any landscape, whether you're in a face-to-face environment or whether you're in a digital environment. So like I said, been doing sales and marketing forever. I spent 15 years in corporate America in property management. Was a sales trainer, was a leadership trainer, a marketing trainer, and so I've been teaching and coaching people for really over a decade, and that's something I really enjoy, is just helping people get some knowledge and information that they didn't know, so they can go apply it and gain an additional area of expertise. So our company helps with marketing from a digital perspective, from a social media perspective, really kind of a holistic marketing approach, making sure that you're set up from a system and process standpoint, but you're also set up from learning how to navigate, the digital world, as we're going to talk about today. So we do help with social media. We do help with traditional marketing as well.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. I may be expert on like maybe one portion of one platform, but there's a whole host of other platforms that other people, if they're exposed to your content, just really multiplies your ability to be that speaking authority, that person that they trust. So I definitely look forward to talking about that. I did put a few slides together and kept it pretty simple. I now subscribe to the model, the KISS model. Keep it simple, stupid. And so today we're really gonna touch on the power of your digital footprint in 2023. And so there's going to be three areas that we're going to talk about. And I invite anyone to go ahead and ask any questions. And as we can get to it, we'll go ahead and try to reply verbally. And I have my assistant, Lisa, on the chat as well. So she'll provide a couple of links. Hey, Lisa, if you get a moment, if you can provide Jordan's and mine's LinkedIn profile, just so people have it at the beginning. And then we'll add it at the end, as well as the CTA links that are appropriate. So the three areas that we really want to talk about is why online press is so important for your brand. The second thing we're going to end up touching on is how to get featured in the media, and that's a huge question. I don't even know what it means, the media. I'm sure we'll get to it. And what's the secret for social media verification, and what does verification really mean? So, I think everyone knows me. I'm Troy Hipolito, the not so boring LinkedIn guy, and so I won't spend much time on me. But today is really about how we can provide value to other people in order to kind of accelerate their business. So Jordan, I'll go ahead and let you take it away.
Perfect. Well, I think if we're starting off with this first question, why is online presence important for, your personal brand? So having an online presence is in itself a long-term client acquisition strategy. And the reason I would say that is, you can Google my name and type in Jordan Mendoza LinkedIn, and you're going to find content, as far back as 2018, 2019, and pages of that content. So, if you want to research someone, if you want to try to figure out, like, is the guy that's showing up on Instagram the same guy that's on LinkedIn, the same guy that's on TikTok, you can literally go back and you've got a whole library or host of topics and
Mhm.
ideas that I've shared and content. You've got written words, you've got video. And so from a branding perspective, it's massive, right? And people can go do their due diligence on you and research, and it's evergreen content, meaning as long as that platform exists and the search engines exist, there's an opportunity to be found. And so much competition in 2023. There's people that are investing, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in ads. And so, how do you set yourself apart in a place that seems to be so saturated? Well, the answer to that is, having an online presence. And an online presence honestly can start with picking one platform and
Mhm.
consistently showing up on that platform, because anything you publish on LinkedIn, it's actually ranks in Google. It's going to show up in that
That's a
search
good
engine.
point. That's a good
Yeah,
point.
yep,
So, you're creating content on whatever platform. If it's good content, if it's tagged properly, it is searchable, and it expands on your actual brand. And if you want to make sure someone's legit, and you're saying, is this person the same person that's putting stuff on, I don't know, TikTok or Instagram, you'll see similar content. You'll see that this person is actually not just talking the talk, but he actually providing the services that he's talking about.
100%. Yeah, it's really it's your way into getting free press, essentially, right? Because you don't have to pay. LinkedIn doesn't charge you to set up and create an account. Neither does TikTok, neither does Instagram, but you do get the benefits of your content being indexed on Google and on all the other search platforms. So that's kind of the first way, and a little hack if you're like, what, how do I get featured in the search engines? How do I build up my domain authority for my website? How do I build up, my searchability for my name on Google? Well, you got to create content. And if you're creating content on multiple platforms, even better. If you publish a newsletter, even
Mhm.
better. That's another type of content that can be found online and searched online. So those are just a couple ways that you can actually have yourself be indexed higher on the search platforms.
So I have a question for you, and this is something I do. I will have a content plan, say 30-day, 6 month, or whatever, right? And they may be different subject matters, right? Personal growth, how to use this, how to book more meetings, how to be more human, how to interact, how to build partnerships and things like that. And those subjects are broken out into or bulleted subjects as well. And each bulleted subject, it can be a post, something consumable within a short amount of time that someone can kind of take an action towards. Um, and I sprinkle those in throughout the week. and then maybe throughout the month. I don't stack them too heavily, right? And I had a live yesterday. We talked about content, and he had some interesting ideas on that as well. But one thing that I try to do is once I finish a series, I put it in a LinkedIn newsletter and I make that evergreen. Because one thing I find that I don't even remember where my LinkedIn posts from last year are, and if you group them other together in a more coherent fashion, you have a evergreen, access to that. Um, do you want to tell me if that's a good thing, bad thing? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean,
Or add to it?
I think the fact that you have a strategy is a good thing, right? And
Hmm.
again, like you said, you're trying to index all the information in one central place. So I don't think there's anything. I don't personally do that, but I don't think. I think in hearing you say it, I could see why it could be helpful, right? But it could also be easy for people that maybe didn't see a single one of the posts in the series, but now they get
Hmm.
this recap, and that's probably point them back to that piece of content so that content can pick up steam again. I mean, and that's kind of the point of putting out stuff, is knowing that it can be found again. And that's what's nice about these platforms, is your content's not gonna die immediately. There's a
Hmm.
chance that someone could find it a month down the road. I mean, I have stuff sometimes that literally from 3 years ago, and it
Hmm.
recently just got a like. So they're going to find it. There's an opportunity for that content to be found.
So speaking of content, and I'm kind of rolling with this here. I have these lives, and you jump on a lot, and you have your own lives. Audio ones was pretty. I never did an audio one. That's pretty interesting. They have podcasts and all these other things. One thing that I try to do is I try to be on someone else's podcast or live once in a while, right? And the thing that you mentioned, oh yeah, someone saw a post from 3 years ago. I did a podcast 3 years ago, and someone said, oh, yeah, I saw you on the podcast today. I'm like, what podcast? And they named it. I couldn't remember. Yeah, I can't remember 3 years ago, right? And it's great because that content for that podcast was reflected into someone that wanted to talk to me from 3 years ago, and it's amazing. And I look at that, I said, that was actually a pretty good interview, and it's still relevant today. I said, let me, and I tell my assistant, I said, take a screenshot of that and let's just do a post on it, and it's kind of interesting why you can figure out what is interesting to other people, and they come and tell you, and you're able to produce content in a very short way. Now, I don't mean to diverge too much, but I just wanted to add that little bit there.
Absolutely. No, I think it's important to, continuously look back at stuff that you've done, because there's a chance that you did not wring everything out of the rag, so to speak. Like, for example, every time I publish a podcast, I might make 15 clips from that. Each of those
Mm,
clips might be 15 seconds to 60 seconds. Well, the entire interview is 42 minutes long. There's
mhm.
going to be something left that you can go pick through, like you equated to, and turn that into a piece of content itself. A graphic, audio clip, a video clip that you just never used, right? You can go back and be like, wow, I said this really, really powerful thing, and I want to leverage this later. But yeah, that's the other benefit of,
So you take the
being.
Gary V model. For everyone that doesn't know what the Gary V model is, just taking a larger piece of content and then repurposing that into smaller segments, so it's
No,
very
yeah.
beneficial, and it creates a fresh flow and a level of consistency that's pretty interesting. So do you run a live, then run a podcast, or do you have a particular system that you
Yeah, so
that
I
you
don't I don't
follow
really
in
turn my
general?
podcasts into or my lives into podcasts. I do that separately on a, like, I use Restream when I'm doing lives as well, but I use a separate platform for podcast recording just because it's got some other tools that Restream doesn't offer. So
Oh, okay, I understand. All right. Well, awesome. All right. Oh, looks like we have a couple of things on the chat here. I
Steve
get.
Spiro, the master connector.
Oh yeah, Steve.
Hopefully
How
you're
you doing,
doing
buddy?
good, Steve. Good to see
Yeah.
you, Cheryl.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for pairing up. That's awesome. Yeah. So we kind of talked about why online press is kind of important.
Yep,
Um, and maybe before we talk about how to get featured on media, can we talk about what does media mean, kind of
sure.
in layman terms, so we can kind of group what the definition is and in what segments of media there are.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely several segments of media. Obviously, there's social media, so you can be featured on a social media platform. You could be featured in digital media, so like an online publication, Entrepreneur, Forbes, Yahoo Finance,
Hmm.
Bloomberg, Business Insider. Those are, digital media publications. And then there's also the actual media, like mass media. You see Good Morning America,
Hmm.
all these TV networks, ABC, Fox, CNBC. So that's also media. So it's all really media. It's just different platforms and different avenues. And obviously, to get featured on TV, you've got to have a story, right? That
Hmm.
has actually gained enough attention to warrant them to want to put you on there. Now, also, I believe that your network is your net worth, right? So if you have people that work at these platforms that actually have relationships, and they share your story, maybe hasn't gone viral on social, but it's compelling enough where the producers want to have a conversation. So those are other ways that you can get featured in the media. Now, of course, with on the press side, I mean, there's plenty of agencies that have relationships with outlets, and you can get featured. I always tell people to stay away from
Hmm.
sponsored posts because they disappear after a certain time. It's not really a very valid or meaningful
So someone
publication.
says, "Hey, for $100, we'll sponsor your post to kind of get in front of these eyes," and then it just disappears
Yeah,
afterwards.
you see a lot
But
of that.
the
You'll see
volume,
like
the amount of money you spent is going to the post may not disappear, but
Yeah, I mean, you might only, invest $97 and you may be able to leverage logos, but what's going to happen after a certain period of time when someone goes to your website and they click on this, featured on ABC, they click the icon, it's going to go to a page that says does not exist anymore, right? Because it
oh,
wasn't the actual publication, it
that can
was
actually
it was
affect you
it's
negatively.
sponsored
That could be a
100%.
potential partner or client, and now it's like this guy's probably not legit. You know?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why you want to be a little bit leery. I always say if it looks too good to be true, then it probably is, and
Mhm.
so you want to find someone that has relationships in the PR space, that
Mhm.
has connections with those types of agencies because
Well, that
those are the
sounds
ones.
like you, Jordan. Is that the person we're talking about? Do you have
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
a list of validated? Because
that's
people don't
right.
want
Yeah,
to
you
mess
you have to
around.
find people that are
Like,
validated writers, right? I mean, that's what's most important because you don't want to, like you said to your point, Troy, you don't want to put something out there and then have someone come back later and think that you're not who you say you are,
yeah.
and also to your point, you asked like, why we're going to talk about social media verification and why should you even want it? What's the benefit? What are the pros of it? Are there any cons? Things like that. So I think that's a good subject to dive into. But I'd love to share. So the first platform that I've been verified on is TikTok, and
Mhm.
TikTok, there's close to a billion users, and I think maybe a million, verified creators or brands. So it's
Mhm.
not a very high percentage that get verified. And the biggest question that I always get is, like for one, how did you do it? You had
Mhm.
less than 2,000 followers because I had
Mhm.
literally less than 2,000 followers when I got verified, and they're
Mhm.
how is that even possible? Because the biggest misconception is that you need 100,000, a million, followers to get the blue check mark. So first off, what is a blue check mark? Well, if a platform, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, if they give you that verification check mark, it means that they have done their due diligence on you to verify that you are who you say you are. You're not impersonating somebody. You are the brand. You are the company representative, the owner, the celebrity, the figure, right? You are that person. And so it takes press, right? Is one of the biggest ways to get verified is being featured in notable press. So I had the privilege of being featured in Yahoo Finance, which is a
Mhm.
notable press site, Market Watch, New York Weekly. TikTok actually interviewed me about my business and podcast, and they wrote a blog on me that you can find on their website. And so those features enabled me to qualify as a notable figure. Does that make sense? Because
It
I'm
does, yeah.
searchable. You can type in Jordan Mendoza podcast, and I'm going to have a lot of the top pages in Google. And again, we talked a little bit
And I'm sorry
earlier.
to interrupt, but
Yep.
you are on some of the top pages because of that verification, and because of those other, I don't want to say alkalides, but those other publications that you've had that are notable.
Yeah, and so one thing that I think will encourage a lot of folks is the thing that really built up my domain authority for my name, because I'm
Mhm,
actually competing with a guy that's on like Comedy Central. There's another Jordan Mendoza comedian guy who looks similar to me, and he's on Comedy
mhm.
Central. Me competing with that guy, it's not easy to rank higher, but because
Yeah,
I've been so consistent on LinkedIn, because I've put out so much on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, my rankings have increased over the years, and I'm literally almost caught up with the guy from a domain aspect. So the press
and
has
then you can
helped,
put down the
you
real
know.
Jordan Mendoza after
Yeah,
you pass them up a little bit.
yep. Well, it's interesting because my original Instagram account with 50,000 followers, it got hacked and disabled. So when
Oh
I created
yeah.
the new one, my new handle is the real Jordan J Mendoza because I can't use the old handle anymore.
And
But no,
and
but
it's and then maybe that's a good story to say as well, is that you have to protect what you have, and
100%.
sometimes once you get hacked or something happens outside of your control, you would think that you just have a discussion with someone and it clears up,
Yeah,
but
it doesn't clear
sometimes
up.
these big
Yeah.
enoentities, they don't
Yep.
care.
Yeah,
They
it
think
doesn't
that
clear
it's
up.
you or
Yeah, and
what.
here's the thing. You can either, throw in the towel and give up like I started to do, and then I was like, you know what? I need, although I'm frustrated with, the decision they made for no reason, I still need to create brand awareness for myself. I still need to show up and
But you did it
put out
once, that means you
put
can
out
do
my
it
message.
again.
That's
And
right.
and
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
have
And,
a
and
lot of
that's
that old content, and you just
Yep.
gotta create an SOP, a service operating procedure for your assistant, and saying, okay, this is the plan. We need to start uploading content that we have in place, and start building it again. Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that's what we're doing. I mean, if you've done it once, you can do it again. And that's the thing that I've done a good job at over the years. Is I've always figured out each platform separately. So I'll figure out Facebook, what works there, and then I'll move to the next platform. I'll figure that platform out because I knew at some point I wanted to have the knowledge and the ability to be able to switch between any platform and coach my clients because chances of them just using one is very slim. The
Hmm.
chances of them dabbling in probably a couple of them but not having a good strategy is very high. And
Mm.
so if you're versed in multiple platforms, it just gives you a lot more knowledge base to be able to help your clients
Well, it
identify
actually provides
gaps and
an
100%.
omnipresence across, because I'm not a big TikTok user. I just started using it, so I really don't know too much about it. But I split. I have a 90-10 split now, and I need to split it. I need to reduce that and go on different media platforms. That's one reason that I had you on the show. It's a little selfish, but you are working on multiple platforms. So the first question that comes to my mind is, okay, start with one, dabble in another, do a 10%, and then do a little more, and then start with the other platform. So I get the concept, but how many platforms are you working, and how hard are you working them?
Yeah, so obviously LinkedIn is one that we're consistently showing up on every single day. TikTok is almost daily, Instagram's daily, Facebook now is daily as we're really building things back up, picking up steam again. So and again, what I would ask is, what are your goals? Is your goal to create brand awareness? Are you trying to use each platform for client acquisition? And then if so, what's your strategy for that process? Because for me, it's brand awareness, it's encouraging, inspiring, and then it's also client acquisition. And so if you don't have a system and process in place, if you're just kind of like spraying out content and hoping that
Mhm.
people click on your bio, that's not really a strategy. So I always, when I'm working with people, especially, I try to figure out, okay, what's your goal? What's your strategy?
Mhm.
And we need to know that for every piece of content we're putting out. We got to have a clear call to action. We've got to be driving
Mhm.
traffic, to one particular place that's part of our goal for that particular moment. So strategy for me is everything. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
what platform you're on. You have to have a good
Yeah, you're creating that
strategy in place.
foundational plan to execute. But when you have to execute it, how much time does the person that's trying to expand the brand do? Because there's working in the business and working on the business, and the
Yeah, I
planning
mean,
is more
if
on the
you're a
business side.
solopreneur, then yeah, you're going to be putting a lot more of those reps in on your own. I remember before I had anyone
Mhm.
on my team, like I was the one that was doing everything, and yeah, it gets exhausting.
Mhm.
It gets tiresome, and so I always encourage people, whenever you've set some revenue goals, and once you hit it, add somebody else, like
I
because
totally
for
agree.
for one, like you may hate doing it and there's someone out there that loves to do it. So
Hmm.
give it to them and they'll get energy out of it, and it's not sucking energy away from you when your time is best served, working with clients and things like that, or getting on sales calls. So yeah, I always say, set a goal, get to it, add somebody else that can help, manage those five repeated tasks that you really
Hmm.
shouldn't be spending time on. So
Yeah, I totally agree. It makes the difference between light and day and sanity versus insanity. you,
yeah.
you have to be able to articulate the changes too. So a lot of times the things are in your head and they need to be put on paper, so you can instruct those people to really, really help you. And don't expect those people that are helping you to be 100% you. They're not. So you have to have some patience and go through some training. And I feel if someone is 70% as good as I am, that's pretty good, you know. And so even though I produce a lot of my own posts, I have people write, they ghost write for the information based on the post. And I spend less time to look at what they had, and I can rewrite it quite quickly versus writing the whole darn thing every single time, which I used to do up to just recently. Yeah. So so if you had to tell people, and we're going to split this in two different little discussions here, to if they had to pick certain platforms, would you start with one plus a portion of one, or what are the baby steps, and then what is the more mature look? And of course, I do understand it depends on your goals,
Yeah,
but let's
depends
just
on
say this is
goals.
LinkedIn Live. Say there's solopreneurs. They
Yep.
have a high value service, high end coach, CPAs, IT companies, you name it. Those type of services that have a typical client that's worth 1,000 to 10,000 a month or something along those lines. And of
Yeah,
course, I think LinkedIn would be just the one of them. But walk us through that journey.
yeah. So whenever I'm working with, especially new startups, solopreneurs,
Mhm.
companies that are startups, my first recommendation is that they own all of their social real estate assets. And what I mean by that is,
Mhm.
whatever your company name is, say your company name is, Troy, right? You want to get at Troy on Instagram, at Troy on Facebook, at Troy on LinkedIn, and you want to own that because we're in a day and age where everything's being flipped right now, right?
Hmm.
Like, it used to just be people would be flipping domains. Now people are creating social handles first and then flipping the social handles back to the brand or the
That's a
company.
whole business
And
model in
it's the
itself.
whole business model, 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. It really, anything can be bought and then sold again, and so you don't want to be that person that goes to create your brand and then you have to be number two,
I
Troy
remember, yeah, I
one.
remember 10
You
years
know,
ago, I tried to buy my last name, Hipolito, and we're both half Filipino. And so I said, yeah, no one's going to have that. A company in Italy that makes lamps have that domain, and they're not giving it up. I'm thinking,
yep,
oh yes, my goodness, it's because the name, my last name is originally from Greek, and then went to Italy, and then went to the Philippines and all that, and did that whole travel thing. But you'd be surprised that a lot of these domain names or a lot of these handles are already taken.
yep, they're already taken. Yeah, so that's the first step that I tell everyone. Again, regardless if you're gonna put out a content the next piece of content the next day or not, you just want to own that. You want to have it secured. You want to have, the security features turned on, two-factor authentication on all your platforms. These are just kind of foundational level things that I would suggest doing. Now, I
Mm,
think to your point, you want to start, obviously, a content strategy on the platform where your ideal audience is most likely going to be. So if you're like a,
mhm,
a B2B type company, then yeah, LinkedIn is going to be a place that I would not only start to build, optimize your personal profile, but also create a company page, which can be done in less than 5 minutes, just to
mhm,
get the bare bones done. But yeah, pick a platform, start your strategy, start to build up momentum, because really the first thing when you're starting a new brand is it's eyeballs.
mhm,
It's every business, it's a numbers game. The more sales calls that you book, the more opportunities of people to close, right? So
mhm.
it's going to be about volume, and so you have to build a strategy that brings in the most volume. And so now, how do you do that? That's for another day. I think that, we can go into the content strategy side of things, but yeah, but I would agree that start on one, build slowly. Once you've got it kind of locked in, and maybe you can hand that off to someone else, and you can start learning another platform.
Okay, so how many platforms are you hitting hard, you personally, Jordan?
Our team, we've got probably four or five that we're hitting consistently.
Mhm. Okay, so that should be closer to the end goal, 4, 5, 6. You should
Yeah,
be
again, if they
omnipresence
make sense.
everywhere at some
Yeah,
point.
if
Okay.
they make sense, but also you wanna keep your ear to the ground, and what I mean by that is, you know, being on social media, you're gonna hear rumblings of what platform just rolled out a new feature,
Oh,
and
speaking of that,
my
there's a
advice is
platform called Rumble because YouTube is canceling a lot of these very high end or some of these creators, and Rumble's taking over. So yeah, there are new platforms that are coming up, and you do not control the platform. I think a
yep,
lot of people forget that. For example, LinkedIn, you don't want to upset them. You don't want to do stuff that's not kosher to according to the guidelines and everything. And at any time, they could shut you down. Like you ran into that
yep.
with one of the platforms, and I remember that I was traveling, and they shut my account down because I was traveling. And they said, no, that's not you. There was at a coffee shop. I said, yeah, it was me. I was at the coffee shop. I'm actually me. And so it
Yep,
took me 4 days to get my profile back up. And I had to send them my ID and everything. And there was nothing that I did that was wrong. It was just that they felt a certain kind of way. And
yep,
now on my phone, I have a particular hotspot to make sure that they'll never catch that IP address again if I log in. So there's all these precautions and stuff that you have to take. So you got to play nicely with the platform that you're definitely on there.
100%.
Yeah. So how does someone get featured in the media?
Yeah, I think we kind of covered that. So of course there's getting featured, being invited because of something
Okay.
that you've done. Whether it's a viral thing, getting asked to be featured, your business company to be featured, like I did from TikTok. They noticed content, they reached out, and then
Oh,
there's also ways where you can partner with PR agencies, and they can help you get featured as a service. So, and I think our third one, what's the secret to social media verification? And I think we covered a little bit. I'll do a quick
yeah.
recap. So, why would you want to be verified on social media? Well, for me, I was actually having on Instagram and Facebook, I was having constantly people were creating fake accounts of me,
Hmm.
taking the same videos, pictures of my family, and
Oh,
they were
really?
creating these fake accounts, and then they were messaging people and trying to sell them Bitcoin. And so I kept getting text messages from friends that I've known forever. They're like, "Hey, are you trying to sell me Bitcoin?" I'm like,
Yeah, I
"Nope,
had Beyonce
you
reach
gotta
out to me
block that
about
account."
Bitcoin, and I was like, "Hey, lady, I don't, this doesn't sound like you."
Yep, yep. So that type of stuff, impersonation is it's a real thing, right? People can try to
Yeah.
steal your identity and use your name, image, and likeness for
Oh, it's
evil, right?
awful.
So for me, when I had the opportunity to get interviewed by TikTok, I was after the interview, I had questions. I was like, "Hey, like, how does this verification thing work? I've had these issues. What does it take?" And so that's why I'm so versed in the knowledge. Is they literally broke it down for me. They're like, "Well, you've got to be featured in the media. You've got to have,
Oh.
got to be creating content on multiple platforms. You have to have posted at least once in the last 6 months. You've got to show up consistently. You can't have violations, right? So they
So that tells
really,
me something. That's actually a good gold nugget. Um, people, when you're out there and you're getting these interviews, figure out what the angles are and how to be successful. Even if it's an interview, even if it's another podcast, when will they show it? How can you help promote it? What are the things within those relationships is going to really make you successful? Because I usually think is, how do I make Jordan successful? Because if I'm making him successful, if I'm doing my own outreach to let people know that this is happening for the things that he's doing, it's going to reflect good on me, it will reflect good on my show, and it will reflect good on our relationship.
yep.
Yeah, so always think about how I provide value to other people, and those come in the form of asking questions.
Yep. Yeah, you got to ask great questions, and so I asked, and fortunately, I got invited to apply. They actually sent me like a physical paper application. I had to fill it out. Yeah, they had to
Really?
do a
Did you thought that was odd?
background. Yeah, it was odd. In 2022 was when I got verified. It was a little odd, but I had to send my driver's license. They had to do a background check. I mean, they do everything, right? They need to make sure that you are who you say you are, right? And so I think a week later, I got a notification, and I got the blue check mark, and it's something that it's the interesting thing was, I think I mentioned it at the top of the show, but I had 1,846 followers. So here I was, like a nobody on the platform. Nobody knew who I was. And now every time I would comment on a video, it shows a blue check mark. And that, to a lot of people, it shows
So
a
in the
level of
morning, you look at the
credi-
mirror and you say, "I
credibility.
am someone," and then you're just
and,
figured
and, that,
with
and
a
that's
blue
the
check
funny
mark.
thing is nothing has changed about me since I got the blue check mark in my eyes. But for other people,
Yeah,
they see you as a prominent figure. I literally have comments where I'll comment, and it'll have thousands of likes. I had one comment, it got like 30,000 likes on my comment
yeah,
because I have a blue check mark, right? So what can verification do for you? Well, for one, people know that it's you. They know that you are who you say
yeah,
you are. For two, it shows that you've been verified by the platform, that you can be trusted. That's huge.
yeah,
And really, it's about credibility.
yeah,
Because if I go to a profile and it's a guy that has 24,000 followers and he's verified, or you have a guy that's a million and they're not, which one would you trust over the other?
yeah.
Right? And so that's really where I get a lot of people that reach out, because they have way
You say
larger audiences than
24,000 because
me.
you know I only have 24,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's
No,
a
no,
good
no, that's where
that's
I'm
a
at
good
now
guess.
on TikTok. Again, I had
Okay.
1,800, and a year and a half later, I've got 24,000. Right, so
Yeah.
the numbers can grow. You
Yeah.
just got to be consistent. You got to show up. So, um, but yeah, so the secret to getting verified is really the press. It's being
Yeah,
featured
getting on
in the media.
those I guess I would call it press steps. So the press
Yep,
opportunities. So you
yep,
might be able to have an opportunity to be on this or to be that, and you're the person that kind of can point them in the right direction, saying, you know what, this could happen. It may cost a little bit of time, a little bit of
yep,
money for the application or whatever it is, but these are the output, the offerings for that. One funny thing, you mentioned that someone was taking your identity, right?
yep,
I had a company called ISO Interactive before, right? It's a gaming company, and we did gamification, and uh, and we weren't very popular, but we were pretty cool because we had a unique website, and we just did some interesting things. And I went to California for all the gaming conventions, and then someone pretended they were me. And that was the weirdest thing, because it was a white guy. I'm half white. My mother's from Switzerland, my father's Filipino, but and my hair used to be a little more spiky, right? And he looked like me, except he was white, and he put down Troy Hipolito. And I'm like, why would someone do that? It's just really weird. And he started posting stuff as me. I said, wow, this guy's pretty good.
wow,
So even if you get a little notoriety, you could be a target because these
yep,
micro influencers have the ability to produce a lot of money, you
yep.
know? And so, and they'll take it and run from it. So definitely you have to, like you said, lock everything down as best you can. And if you don't, you could get, you can get in trouble in more than one way.
Yep. Yeah, and so some of the great opportunities that are out there, and the ones that I'm involved in is, we do things that are called listicles. So you could be in a feature with the top 5 entrepreneurs in your industry. You be
Hmm.
in a feature of people to look out for on LinkedIn for 2023, right? We
Hmm.
talked about that. And so those types of features are great because you're going to essentially have to invest in being part of a feature like that. But the opportunity to be backlinked back to your website and the
Hmm.
ranking opportunity for Google domain authority is huge. And
Hmm.
then, if you're associated with a platform like Maxim, right, or Yahoo Finance or
Hmm.
Business Insider,
Hmm.
they index really high in Google, and you have the
Mm.
opportunity to be found for years to come. And so
So
one
you
of
would
those
think about that as
benefits,
putting part of your marketing budget
yeah,
because you have it
it's a
done for
long
you,
term
or you have
strategy,
training, you have also a budget for this, and all that is in the kind of marketing budget and sales kind of stuff.
100%.
And you're saying, you know what, it takes this amount to actually invest. And it's not really the money; it's really like the foundational thought process and the time to do it right is the
Yeah,
most
it's
impressive.
not it's not like, hey, you're going to be featured in this article, and then you're going to have 1,000 clients knock on your door tomorrow. No, it's
No, it's,
about
hmm.
over time as your
Hmm.
business grows and as people get to know you and see you different places, they will also come across that feature and say, "Wow, you've been in this note on this notable platform." Does that make sense? So it's like, do I pick
Hmm.
Troy over Bill? Well, Troy's been featured in this guy is on page 16 before I get to his name. Which one
Yeah,
are you
and
gonna
it's
which one are you
also
gonna go
there's
with?
more of a longevity in that too.
100%.
So
Yep.
it's not one. I mean, it indexes not just higher, but index longer. And so when someone gets to that, like for example, the podcast thing, they reached out to me for the podcast, and it was something that was done years ago, and I'm like, oh,
Yep.
okay, great, still very relevant. Well, this is awesome, Jordan. I don't want to monopolize all your time, but I do appreciate it. I wanted to ask you if someone needed to take a particular step to improve their social media output or or maybe their results input wise, what is the one step that you would recommend someone to do?
Yeah, I think it all starts with the foundation. I think we've talked about
Mhm.
this a few times, but I would look at your profile and take a top to bottom approach and make sure
Mhm.
that it's truly optimized for the platform that you're going to create content on. Because if your profile is not optimized and is not dialed in, is not ready to receive viewers, to receive traffic to your call to action or your top of funnel goal, then you're going to be stuck, So
Well, it's not only
having
not
that dialed
ready, it
in.
it won't even
Yep.
attract the right people.
100%.
So, I had
Yep.
a call the other day, and I do a lot of these meet and greets, and I do something very similar, and, and I was asking him, I said, "Oh, so you're in cybersecurity?" "Well, I actually do this, this, and this." I said, "That's not what your profile says. If you're trying to do these type of things within your" I said, "So you're a fractional CIO." That's what it was. It wasn't really cybersecurity in particular. And I said, "You know what? When people go to your profile, your LinkedIn profile, I'm not going to talk on any platforms. I'm not an expert in those. But when they go to that, you got to get them in 5 seconds.
Yep.
In 5 seconds, says, oh, this is my man. This is my guy here. Yeah, I'm looking for him. He comes up. It's written well. And there's SEO in two versions, the search for LinkedIn and Google. And people need to understand that when they get to that page, is this the right person? So that's a great point of addressing your profile first as the foundational thing. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
My pleasure. Yeah, and listen, that's the advice I would give on any platform. Like you said, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you always have to start with the foundational stuff first,
Hmm.
before you even think about putting out that piece of content. And so, yeah, if anyone has gotten value from this, and maybe you have other questions that you want to explore, he's got the link here. We've got it in the comment section. You can just click. You can grab time on my calendar. I budget 30 minutes for anyone just to learn about you, see if we'd be a good partner, if we can even help solve problems for you. And if I can or our team can't, then I've got a network of folks in different parts of the industry that might be able to help you. And if you're looking for media opportunities, if 2023 is the year where you say, hey, I want to invest in a long-term client acquisition strategy, I want to be featured more so I can be found quicker and potentially get a client over the next guy, then you can click on that link as well. And there's a media form you can fill out to see if you qualify. So, but I appreciate your time, Troy. You do a great job with the show. Keep up the great work,
Thank you.
and hopefully we'll do this again.
Awesome. And I also want to thank everyone who has posted comments. And we have a gentleman from Turkey in the earthquake zone there. Thank you for listening in. I hope everything is going a lot better than it was. I know that they had a lot of aid over there to kind of help people out and stuff like that. And then, oh, we have Philip Lagarmia. I always mispronounce your name, so forgive me. And then a couple other people have joined. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining. And I also have my link there too. I'm more of the LinkedIn guy specialist for the done for you, the ability to kind of convert and build relationships quickly. All right. Thank you very much. And then have an awesome day.